Just picture a quiet and small garage in California. There are old tools and loose wires there. Two young men sitting on the floor. They have no money, no plan. They have no idea that the world one day depends on what they were building. Just imagine a company that almost went bankrupt. A founder who got fired from his own company. A product people laughed at. And today, the same company is worth trillions of dollars. This is not luck. This is not magic. This is obsession. This is belief. This is the great inspirational story of all times great tech company, Apple Incorporated. The story of Apple did not begin with a grand business plan. It began with a simple dream. Stephen G. Wozniak always wanted to build his own personal computer. In 1975, he was inspired by the Altair 8800, the first commercially successful microcomputer. Encouraged by his friend at the Homebrew Club, Wozniak built a simple computer motherboard. At that time, he was working as an engineering intern at Hewlett-Packard. He showed his design to the company, but they were not interested. That rejection changed history. Wozniak teamed up with his former school friend Steve Jobs, who immediately saw the potential. On April 1976, Apple Incorporated was founded in the Jobs family garage. Ronald Wayne also joined them, bringing experience and structure to the young company. Jobs and Wozniak each owned 45% of Apple, while Wayne held 10%. To raise money, Jobs sold his Volkswagen and Wozniak sold his programmable calculator. Their first product, the Apple I, was launched in July 1976. It sold for $66.66 and came without a keyboard and monitor. Even then, Apple managed to sell around 200 units. Later that same year, Ronald Wayne left the company and sold his 10% shares for just $800, a decision that would later be remembered as one of the most expensive exits in business history. In January 1977, Apple was officially incorporated with the help of Mike Markula, a former Intel executive. He invested $250,000 and provided business guidance that Apple badly needed. That same year, Apple released the Apple II. This computer was different. It had a plastic casing, color graphics, and sound, and could connect directly to a television. It was easy to use and felt friendly. The Apple II became a massive success, selling between 5 and 6 million units over the next decade. The Apple II became even more powerful when Wozniak introduced an affordable floppy disk drive. This made data storage faster and more reliable. Apple had now moved beyond a garage startup. It had entered the consumer market in a serious way and was growing fast. In 1979, Steve Jobs visited Xerox PARC, a research center in California. What he saw that would shape Apple's future. Xerox engineers demonstrated a graphical user interface with windows on a screen, a pointing device called a mouse, and icons that replaced typed commands. Jobs immediately understood the power of these ideas. Apple decided to use them in his own products. These features were later integrated into two computers, the Apple Lisa and the Macintosh. The goal was simple: make computers easy for everyday people. Xerox later sued Apple, claiming Apple stole its ideas. The case was dismissed in 1990. Even so, these innovations became the foundation of modern personal computing. By 1980, Apple had become a giant. The company made over $100 million in profits and had more than 1,000 employees. In December 1980, Apple went public. It was the largest IPO since Ford Motor Company. Apple's valuation reached nearly $2 billion, even higher than Ford's at the time. Then IBM entered the personal computer market in 1981. IBM used Intel processors and Microsoft's DOS. Other companies copied this model, creating a massive ecosystem. Business users prefer IBM PCs, especially after the release of spreadsheet program Lotus 123. Apple could not compete in business computing. The Apple's Lisa, released in 1983, failed badly due to its high price and poor performance. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh. It was introduced through a legendary Super Bowl commercial directly by Ridley Scott.
We shall prevail.
The ad portrayed Apple as a rebel fighting against conformity. The Macintosh used a graphical interface, mouse, and all-in-one design. While it became a cultural icon, sales were lower than expected. Internal conflicts followed. In 1985, Steve Jobs was forced out of the company he co-founded. After Jobs left, Apple struggled to find direction. Stephen Wozniak also stepped away. Apple continued improving the Macintosh and helped launch desktop publishing with products like LaserWriter printer and PageMaker software. However, Windows PCs improved quickly and became cheaper. Apple products remained expensive. The company faced multiple failures, including the Newton PDA and costly legal battles. Market shares dropped sharply. By the mid-1990s, Apple was close to collapse. In 1996, Apple made a critical decision. It bought Next, the company Steve Jobs had founded after leaving Apple. This brought Jobs back as an advisor and later as a leader. By 1997, Apple's market share had fallen to around 3%. The board removed CEO Gil Amelio and brought Steve Jobs back. This moment marked the beginnings of Apple's greatest comeback. Jobs acted fast. He cut unnecessary projects. He reduced confusing product lines. He focused Apple on just a few core products. One of his most surprising moves was partnering with Microsoft, Apple's longtime rival. Microsoft invested $150 million in Apple and committed to developing Microsoft Office for the Macintosh. This deal restored confidence in Apple and bought the company time to recover. In 1998, Apple launched the iMac. It looked nothing like other computers. It was colorful, transparent, and simple. It had no floppy drive, which shocked many people. But Jobs believed the future was the internet, not disks. The iMac was designed to be easy to use and visually appealing. Apple marketed it as a lifestyle product, not just a machine. The strategy worked. The iMac became the best-selling Mac at that time. Apple's US market share rose from 2.6% to over 13% within a year. More importantly, Apple became profitable again in 1998, its first profitable year since 1995. The comeback had officially begun. In 2001, Apple introduced iTunes. It was a simple program that allowed users to store, organize, and play digital music files. At the time, music piracy was common and the music industry was struggling. Apple saw an opportunity to change how people bought and listened to the music. Later that same year, Apple launched the iPod. It was small, stylish, and easy to use, while MP3 players already existed. None worked as smoothly as the iPod. Apple later connected the iPod with the iTunes Store, where users could legally buy songs online. By 2006, more than 1 billion songs had been sold through the iTunes. Apple had transformed the music industry. In 2007, Apple introduced the iPhone.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything.
Steve Jobs did not call it a phone. It called it three devices in one: a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator. The iPhone had no physical keyboard. Instead, it used a multi-touch screen that allowed users to swipe, pinch, and tap. This was revolutionary. At the time, BlackBerry dominated the smartphone market, especially among business users. Apple slowly took market share by focusing on user experience. The iPhone combined calls, messages, music, internet browsing, and later apps in one device. In 2008, Apple launched the App Store, allowing third-party developers to create apps. This created an entire ecosystem around the iPhone. By 2009, Apple controlled about 20% of the smartphone market. In 2010, Apple unveiled the iPad. It filled the gap between the smartphones and laptops. Many critics doubted it at first, but consumers loved it. The iPad was ideal for browsing, reading, watching videos, and using apps. It quickly became a success and created a new product category. In 2011, Apple introduced iCloud. This service allowed users to store photos, files, and data online and sync them across devices. It marked Apple's shift toward cloud-based computing. Later that year, Steve Jobs stepped down as CEO due to health issues. He passed away in October 2011. By then, Apple was one of the most valuable companies in the world. Jobs left behind a company that had been reborn through innovation, focus, and bold decisions. Apple's comeback was not luck. It was the result of clear vision, bold decisions, and deep understanding of people. Steve Jobs did not just bring new products. He brought focus. Apple stopped trying to do everything. Instead, it chose to do a few things extremely well. This shift changed the company's destiny. From computers to music players, from phones to tablets, Apple reshaped how humans interact with technology in daily life. It made technology feel personal, simple, and emotional, not cold or complicated. That mindset became Apple's greatest strength. By the time Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, Apple had already secured its place in history. It was no longer just a computer company. It had become a cultural icon, a symbol of innovation, a reminder that even a company on the edge of collapse can rise again with the right leadership and vision. Apple's story proves that failure is not the end. Sometimes failure is preparation for something much bigger. If you found this story valuable, please like, share and subscribe the channel and comment below what do you think was Apple's greatest invention, the Macintosh, the iPod or the iPhone, or was it the vision itself? If you want to know how Amazon became a successful venture, please click here. And if you want to know the amazing journey of Microsoft, please click here. Stay connected. Awais Ahmed signing off.